Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the new podcast of the Just Nerds channel. It's been a while since Blake and I have really been on an open podcast with each other. Say hi, Blake.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be back.
Nice. But with this, we wanted to do like kind of a soft reboot of like our podcast, just because it's been so long, and I don't know. It seems kind of weird to restart or jump back into like, oh, let's go to episode 15, like 2 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So it just seems right to kind of restart on our podcast. But if you're new or rejoining us, Blake and I, we are, as you can tell, nerds. And we talk about a variety of things, from movies to anime to video games to TV shows. Really kind of anything we're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's why we're so unique, because we talk about everything.
Yes.
Except sports, because that's boring, you know?
I mean, the close. We talk about esports every now and then.
That's a good point.
But every now
Some
and then.
Evo is coming up.
Ooh. Yeah.
But like the basketballs, the footballs, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's been the same thing for like 50 years, man. Change it up. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, football needs some buffs, I think.
Yeah. I agree. I was thinking multipliers, actually.
Oh, really?
Like last 2 minutes, multipliers. Yeah.
Multiply the score.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah. Comeback mechanic. I've been saying that for years.
Yeah.
Comeback mechanics.
Yeah.
But so we kind of want to ease back into the podcast formats, because it's been a while since we've done this. It's probably been a while since you guys have heard us talk. And so we're gonna try new things with this podcast, some different structures as we go, the way we bring out information, the way we talk in general. And hopefully you guys are on this fun ride with us, and we'll try our best. So how you been, Blake?
I've been doing pretty well, man. Summer just started, so no more school. Get to just kind of chill and, relax, play some games, and that's mostly what I've been doing. But I've been doing well. How about you, my friend?
Yeah, same. Just graduated from college.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna find work at some point. Not right now, but because once you find that job, I'm locked in for the rest of my life. So
Yep.
I'm in a transition period, but that's not the time right now. We're talking about games and movies.
Yes.
And shows, whatever.
And whatever.
Yeah, but I guess we'll just start with like what we've been playing. So it's like watching, just as a good little transition into bigger topics we'll talk about. So Blake, have you been experiencing any interesting media as of late?
I don't know if I would go, not a whole lot of variety, but I have been doing kind of a lot. I've been playing a ton of Smash Bros. Too much, in fact. I've been just kind of losing my mind, going back and forth watching the Hero trailer and then Banjo-Kazooie, obviously. I still can't believe Banjo's in. I every time I watch that trailer, I'm like, this is fake. It's not real. But I know it is, and I'm going crazy about it. Let's see. Other than Smash Brothers, though, I've been playing this great game called Alpha on my Switch. It's a little indie game I found. It's like a single-player kind of like just really brief action game. You have a sword and like a little turret next to you, and so you have to like shoot and get through the levels. It's really challenging, but like it's really immediate and fun. There's only like, it's a cheap game too, but it's only like, I think 8 levels, but like they're very challenging, but it's like super fun. Like every time I lose, I'm like, I can totally beat this. Like I'm like one more time, and it's just super great. So beyond that, still trying to get through Earthbound. On my PlayStation 3, I decided to go back and buy some of the PS1 classics. So on my PlayStation 3, I'm playing Klonoa. The old 2.5D platformer that's really fun. Not too far into it, but I'm loving it so far. But as for movies, I just watched Endgame, I think, for the third time, because my friend still hasn't seen it, which surprised me. I had a lot of fun watching it, but I just had a lot of fun watching it. It was good. It still retains its entertainment factor after so long, and that's kind of it for me. I think that's just it. Playing Smash Brothers and watching movies 3 times in a row for no reason. But how about you, man? What you been up to?
Let's see. For movies, I watched Shaft recently.
Oh yeah.
My parents wanted to see it. Good Father's Day movie. It was okay. Not a good movie, but I had a fun time, I guess.
Okay.
I really just liked the last 20-30 minutes. That's when it really got fun. The rest was just like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of movies.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say, stream it versus going to see it at the movies. But yeah, it was fine. In terms of shows, I just watched, I think just this morning, finished season 1 of The Dragon Prince.
How was that?
It's real good, actually. I would recommend.
I have it on my list. I haven't gotten to it.
It's good.
Because I'm still a little burned from Voltron. Just, I just don't feel like it. But I do want to check it out. The animation was a little weird.
Yeah.
At first, at least from initial glance. But is it...
It's definitely... It's not like the show's strongest aspect.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like either... I don't know if it was Netflix or just that's what they felt they wanted to do, 3D.
Yeah.
But it's definitely kind of choppy, You can kind of tell, but I think after like an episode, I kind of started noticing it less. Just because I was so invested in what was happening.
Yeah.
I do recognize the animation's okay. It's, like I said, definitely choppy, but in terms of like the story and everything, I think it's very entertaining. Definitely some of those Avatar vibes.
Yeah, because it's is it both of them or just one of the creators?
I actually don't know.
I remember knowing. I know for certain it's one. Michael
I reckon
DiMartino, I believe. Michael Dante DiMartino, I think his name is. I don't know his name off the top of my head, but I think that's what his name is. He's the guy with the glasses.
I feel like it might just be one.
But that's what I'm thinking. I think it's him, but I'm not.
Well, I'll definitely watch season 2 and come back to you guys about it, so I'll find out then. But I think it's just one.
Yeah.
From what I know.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely has those Avatar vibes. So if you miss Avatar, I would recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
First season's only 9 episodes, so I watched it in like an evening and a morning. So yeah, I would recommend. It's good.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out when I get a chance.
Yeah.
When I stop feeling the sting of Voltron.
It's good. In terms of games, I beat Trials of Cold Steel. It's just like a JRPG on the Vita.
Okay.
It's also on PS3 and right now remastered for PS4. Because Trails of Cold Steel 3 is coming out on PS4, so they're putting 1 and 2 also on the PS4. Because what you do in the first 2 games kind of carries over into the third game. Just like it's kind of like Persona, some social link stuff I think kind of carries over.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, good game. It kind of got me like 2 years to beat it. Just because the way the game is very like structured.
Okay.
Because the way it starts with kind of like Persona, your social links
with
your classmates, but then you go on assignments and they give you like 1 required assignment and like 2 or 3 optional ones. But you should do the optional ones because it gives you like, better stats and everything. Also just for grinding and leveling in general. But it's at some point kind of gets a bit monotonous just doing these different like side quests, I guess. Because you go, okay, this is a little mission chunk I do for like a few hours. Then I do the social link stuff. Okay, now let's go back to more missions. Social links, missions. And it's fun, but I think you definitely don't want to play all at once. I want to do it in chunks.
Is it like Persona 5 in the sense where like the kind of the social link and like side quest stuff is kind of separated from the main like battles in terms of like with monsters or whatever? Because Persona 5 has like this weird kind of cross between like what you do in the social link stuff affects the battle stuff, but the battle stuff is like kind of separated. You can't do that.
The social link stuff definitely affects the like combat.
Okay, cool.
Because like the higher ranks that you do, like say you attack an enemy and it's almost dead. If you're level 2, your person you're linked with can finish off the enemy, so you don't deal with them. Or like level 3, they do a stronger attack like that. Level 4, sometimes they can cover you, or you can cover them if they're about to die. Or like in level 5, you do like a bigger like attack with those characters. So it's definitely better to get those links with the party that you want.
Okay.
But it's also weird because they force you to have certain party structures. Because they'll say, okay, this group of students is going on this mission. Which is actually kind of better because then you don't just play one squad of 4 people the entire time. You definitely have to mix it up, which is really cool. But yeah, it was good. I can't wait to play the second one, but I definitely need a break from it, just for a little bit. But I don't think it'll follow the structure of the first game just by story reasons. But we'll see. Good game. But now I'm playing Final Fantasy VII. Maybe the most popular JRPG ever.
Yeah, I would say the most well-renowned.
Yeah.
I don't know if the best, but I know that like everybody says like Final Fantasy. everybody mostly tells me like EA 7's probably your best bet because I hear that like I don't know 7's just the most well known.
Yeah, well there's arguments about people say 6 is the best. If
6, 9, I hear 6 and 9. I hear the only one I hear consistently is.
Some people say 3.
I've heard a few people say 3 and 5. I hear that 4 and 5, mostly 4, are the most like accessible. Like if you've never played a JRPG before, you should probably start with that one. I know 7 is the most popular because of just the fact that it came out at the right time, was a huge game. And then I hear 8 is like the most complicated and like most.
It's the one that everybody hates. It's
the one that people don't like. Yeah. I always remembered hearing about 9, 7, and like occasionally like 5 and 6 and 3 and whatever. And then I was like, well, whatever happened to 8? Does 8 exist? And then I heard about it, and then I guess there's like this weird. I have no knowledge of 8 whatsoever, really. Except the characters, kind of, because of Kingdom Hearts mostly. But I know there's like this weird mechanic that I forget what it's called, but people just didn't like it, and it just kind of ruined the game.
No, I know what you're talking about. I had it in my head like yesterday, but I can't remember it. But yeah, I think like 8 people hate, and then like either 1 or 3. I think 1, just because it's the first. I can't remember.
Yeah, I know 1 is just old.
It's either 1 or 3 that people don't like, and then 8 is like the one nobody likes.
yeah.
Or something a lot of people like it, but the majority of people hate it.
Yeah, I've heard the music, because the music is like Final Fantasy. Like I love Final Fantasy music.
Yeah.
And the music's fantastic. But they actually, I know we're not going to talk about this, but I think it's interesting that they brought it back. They remastered it just recently. That's is that on the Switch, or is that just PS4?
I think on the Switch as well.
Okay.
I would assume so. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII. You played a bit more than me actually. I've only played 5 hours of it so far, but it's a good game. It
is. I see why so many people got hooked on it because the opening is fantastic. I think the opening is like the music, the way it's like all very cinematic, the way it transitions from cinematic right into gameplay, super cool. Like I don't know, like I still think that's like one of the best moments in gaming. Out of all the games I've played, like it's just super like.
It throws you in like real fast.
Yes, it gets you right into the game, and like it gets you right in the middle of this like high tension bombing mission of all things, and like the music's great. You're getting introduced to the characters. It's good stuff. Like I really like the intro to Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
I stopped because I don't know why I stopped. I think I got whooped by a boss, and I just was like, all right, well. Putting Final Fantasy away for a little bit, but I got a little bit after the motorcycle chase, which is one of my favorite sequences in that game. I don't know. Final Fantasy VII has a lot of great sequences. Yeah. So I'm looking for. I want to go back and play it, but I want to finish Earthbound first because I've been sitting on that game for too long, and I refuse to sit on it any longer.
Yeah. But still holds up. To be honest, I was surprised by that. Just you're never sure if it's the hype just by what it was back in the day. Yeah. But it is still a quality game.
Yeah, like nostalgia.
I'm happy about, yeah.
But no, I think it's going to be... I'm excited to go back to play it. I really like the music again. Again, I can harp on love Final Fantasy VII, talk about it all day. I can talk about Final Fantasy music all day, and I just love that music. I love the opening. I love the battle theme. The boss theme is like my favorite thing ever. God, I can go forever. Tifa's theme, Aerith's theme, like the music and the presentation really get together. Like even though I know that like the characters are just polygons, like literally just like shapes put together to make it look like characters, but like there's something about Final Fantasy VII that just feels like really, I don't know, like it just kind of has like nostalgia kind of tied
has good charm to it.
Yes, it's that. I think that's the word I was looking for. Like it's really charming just by default, even without the kind of like history behind it. Never had a PS1 for me. So.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, but
yeah, that's about it. Actually, I forgot for shows. I recently rewatched Evangelion with my roommate.
Oh.
I showed it to him for the first time. So he was like, "Should I watch this?" And I thought, probably, I guess. He's gotten into anime and watched a bunch of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what? I guess before the school ends, you should watch this. Mm. And so we watched it. From what I know, he enjoyed it a lot. Mm. And actually, I enjoyed it way more the second time. And I think part of it's just because I'm older now. And so I understand it more. Mm-hmm. But I first watched it when I was 14. And I still liked it. But the way I viewed Eva is that I love it as a franchise. Like, I love the characters. I love the themes. I love the concept of it. I love the whole thing with the movies, how it's kind of a sequel but kind of not at the same time. The fan theories around that.
Mm-hmm.
But the base show, I always consider just okay. Like a lot of it's just okay.
Yeah.
But now going back, the parts that stuck with me, that's like not as big as what it was. Like I thought the crazy stuff was like from like episode like 10 onwards. But no, it's from like the last 5 to 6 episodes. That's when it really gets crazy. But it's really good. Really good show. I'm glad I saw it again. It's much better second time. Characters are still great. The writing and themes still amazing.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe that'll come up to conversation a little bit on this podcast.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to talk about it because I've heard it becoming more, or I've heard it coming up in topics more frequently because of like all the Netflix stuff and stuff like that. Yeah. But
that'll be a topic of conversation.
Yeah, that's why I'm not talking about it right now.
No,
I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Because I know you want to talk about that.
But so I think that's all we've been like kind of experiencing lately in terms of like personally what we've been looking at.
Yeah.
So I guess we can kind of move into more bigger topics.
Yeah.
That I look at. So first, and we kind of talked about this a little bit off the podcast, but Final Fantasy VII Remake got shown at E3. I guess first thoughts. What do you think? How do you think it looks?
Aesthetically, strictly visually, I think it looks great. It sounds great. I don't see any issue with it visually. I know that there was I don't know if this is still going on, but a very brief, kind of storm of people from Japan saying that Aerith's face was too long.
I did see that.
I saw that too. I don't know. I looked at it and I don't know. Maybe it's because again, like I was kind of saying earlier, I don't have like a massive connection with Final Fantasy VII. But like it didn't look like a big difference. I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority here, but I kind of prefer what they did. Yeah, because I saw the edit and it I don't know, her head looks a little too small.
It looked weird.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, and then I know that people are complaining about Tifa, but then when haven't they complained about Tifa? As far as I'm aware, that's been going on since I don't know, for a while now. Yeah. But like I said, visually and aesthetically, it looks great. I think the gameplay looks cool. From what you've told me, it's Kingdom Hearts 2's battle director, right?
The Kingdom Hearts battle designer.
Yes.
That was like the problem with 15, where it looked cool, but playing it felt not great.
Yeah.
But Kingdom Hearts 2, like that game feels so good to play, and it looks really cool. But they found a good balance between that, which I thought was good when they showed the gameplay of it, because is it gonna be like 15? But then they showed us, and like the guy playing it in front of everybody, like no, this game, at least for me, in terms of gameplay, looks really cool.
Yeah. I think specifically for me, what kind of really cemented that this is going to be way different than like the original, of course, but even 15 was the first boss fight they have against the I forget what it is. It's like I want to call it the Scorpion droid, where it has like the tail and it's I don't know what I wish I knew the names of this stuff. I kind of wish I was a Final Fantasy expert, but anyways. Because like the boss fight operates way differently than it does in the original game, and even like I would say even in 15, where it goes into phases. You know what I mean? Like there's a point where like it's jumping on the walls and you got to jump on the walls and fight it, and then there's a part where it's like almost about to blow up and it learns a new move and it starts shooting you with the laser, and you have to kind of adapt to that like as the phases go on. So, but in Final Fantasy VII, that boss fight's fairly stagnant. Like the boss gets different moves and it gets like the laser and like the more destructive attacks, but like you don't really transition places and whatever. It's not like that dynamic, I would say. So it looks super cool. It looks super different because it is a remake. Has to be different. I don't have any major concerns about it. I just feel as though my personal tastes are more aligned with turn-based stuff, just because I like the simplicity of turn-based stuff, just overall. But I'm definitely interested in it. But I think the only part that concerns me is maybe the release date. Like, that's weird. It feels early, but I know this game's been in development, quote unquote, for however long, because it wasn't that long ago.
Until they had to restart it.
Yeah, well, because I remember you shared with me a tweet that said something along the lines of Nomura just said that like the planning stages just got finalized or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Some sort of stage of development just
Yeah.
finished, and it's really early, and then they show this, and it's like, oh, here's the release date, and it's like, are you guys even close? Like,
I think that was a while ago, though, right?
I think so.
Like,
Not super long ago.
I mean, it's way more far in development than we thought it'd be.
I guess so,
It
yeah.
would come out like next December or something, you know, at the earliest. I could see it being pushed back, to be honest. I know it's in parts, and this is just the Midgar.
Yes.
Part 1's just Midgar, but I could see it being pushed back.
Yeah. I just don't think Square's going to do that because I don't...
I mean, they did it with Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, but Final Fantasy 15, well...
Remember, they had a big event just for the release date?
Yeah.
Where they released a bunch of other information.
True.
But they still pushed it back.
That is true. But 15, I think, had a much harder time.
I
given
do
that
agree
it's
with
shared
that.
development with...
I do agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, from what we've seen, like, from past when they restarted, it seems like, we haven't heard that much, to be honest, but it seems like there hasn't been much issue with the restart, except, like, 15, we kept hearing stuff, it's like,
Yeah, well, 15 feels, from what I've played, like, it, you know, and from what you've told me, more so what you've told me than what I've played, like, there's a point where, like, that game becomes a completely different game, like, halfway through.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, starting in 10 years ago, switching directors, switching engines, like, multiple times, switching gameplay styles.
Mm-hmm. Switching titles
Yep.
from, what is, the first is 13,
First is 13,
right?
yeah. It was supposed to be alongside 13 at some point. This, like, it did restart, but it was, like, just that one thing.
Yeah.
But other than that, we haven't heard that much from it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it'll come out March. Who knows? It looks really cool, though. I think it looks like a great action game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, will be way different than the turn-based, but whoever's
Yes.
into turn-based will have the original. Whoever's into more action games, which a lot of people are, they'll have the remakes to look forward to.
Yeah.
The gameplay looks great. I love how it's a fusion of action and kind of turn-based with the, what's it called again? EDP? Is that what it is?
ADP, which is...
When time slows down at a certain point and you do your special moves.
I know what you're talking about.
I forget what they called it, but I think that's such a great idea, how to combine the two kind of gameplay styles, and I think we have a lot to look forward to for this game. Again, Kingdom Hearts 2 battle designer play. That game feels so good to play, and this one, from what they showed, looks really cool.
Yes.
And switching characters is really fast. You couldn't do that in 15. But also in other games, when you can switch characters, I always feel like I don't need to, so I never do. This game feels like, okay, every character looks very distinct, so you kind of want to play everybody at least a little bit. And at least with the Barrett stuff, maybe they'll make you want to switch.
Yeah. Well, like
or have a need to.
from a long range.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
So that seems pretty cool to me.
But I'm picking mostly Tifa.
I mean, you can't just say that out loud.
No.
Like,
No, but I'm with you. I think this is going to be a really exciting time to see what they do with it. You know what I mean? Because, you know, it'll be cool. It'll be cool.
Yeah,
Regardless.
but like you mentioned a little bit, there's been a lot of talk about Tifa. So I feel like, I don't know if you have any opinions on that. I think maybe we could just talk about it a little bit.
I don't have anything insane other than I think it's kind of pointless. Because, like, Tifa's still a strong character regardless of appearance, regardless of whatever. I mean, and that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Because, like, I don't know, there could be more.
Yeah, there's been a lot of controversy about reducing her breast size and everything.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's fine. I don't care. Like, I mean, I don't... Because, like, back in the PlayStation 1 era, there were just limitations, like, you know what I mean? So, like, there were limitations everywhere. Like, there's so many spelling errors in Final Fantasy VII. There's grammatical errors in Final Fantasy VII. There's, I believe, a Spanish translation of the game that thinks Tifa is a guy, I heard. So, I mean, nowadays, it's like everything's so much more controlled and so much more easily translated because of the internet, because of just how things work nowadays, that I don't know, I don't really mind. I just think it's weird because it's kind of a weird thing where do you know if this is strictly American version? Or do you think it's both?
What do you mean?
Like the fact that like Tifa's reduced breast size and like other things.
I think
like
it's
that.
for both.
Okay. Because I was just wondering because like I remember something similar when Xenoblade Chronicles X came out.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, where you can't reduce the breast size in America, but you can in Japan.
No, I think that's like censorship. It's just a case of when they just redesigned her and then they just like reduced that aspect of her.
Yeah. So like as long as it's not a censorship thing for me, that's just where I stand. Is like. Were her breasts like a huge part of why I like Tifa? Not really. No, I like Tifa because of like just the fact that she's such a cool character.
Yeah.
You know, like she owned a bar, she fights with her freaking fists, and you know, like that's cool. Like you know what I mean? So I don't have any strong feelings towards it. I mean, unless I start seeing weird like stuff about it, like even more people like complaining about it, and then like asking them to change it in some way. But I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's really interesting looking at this because there's an interview that came out about like Tifa's new design and about that how they reduced her chest, and some people were going crazy because I think they said like the like quote unquote ethics team, which that's like in almost every company they have like some sort of ethics team kind of like that.
Yeah.
Different titles in different places.
Yeah.
But they said that they like I don't know if they were asked to restrict Tifa's chest by the ethics team or it was just like a recommendation, but people like took that and went crazy like like censorship and all that. But what they took that as they asked them to reduce her chest. They just by restrict they meant like the sports bra that they added to her design because the way they explained it was it made sense practically that she wear a sports bra so that because she's a fighter, so she wouldn't like her breasts wouldn't be flailing everywhere. Like it would be more unrealistic,
of course,
if it happened like that. Yeah. So they added those parts of her new design to fit the character.
Yeah, and of course you can't have that on a PS1. Yeah. You know, so like that makes sense. Like that's not a big deal. Yeah. That's just adding a more practical level. I mean, like granted, it's a fantasy game, so like it doesn't really matter. But like that's a cool attention to detail. I think like that's okay.
It's just people going kind of crazy because. I think we can both agree. Her redesign looks awesome.
Yeah, she looks great.
It looks really cool. Yeah. Everybody's design looks so cool in this game.
Yeah. Everybody looks like really spot on to how like I imagine them in HD. Mm-hmm. So like
I agree.
But I'll have to see as we go on because a lot of people are talking about a lot of things. Like of course we brought up earlier that like there was the Aerith controversy. Mm-hmm. Now there's the Tifa controversy. Not too long ago there was people talking about Barrett. And talking about how he's like still a racist portrayal of African Americans, and I was like, I don't know. I feel like we're at a point where like we've complained about every character except Cloud. Yeah. But I'm waiting until we have a Cloud thing where it's like, oh, nobody can be that pretty. Yeah. Or something. But
kind of just also, not to get too into, but like the times we're in, with an example like Barrett or like Tifa. Like using Tifa as an example, just like the sexualization of certain characters, it's hard to tell what stance to take on some of these characters sometimes because I've looked at this like during like papers and stuff for college, but even like recently a lot of characters like was it Kasumi from Persona 5 we talked about a little bit before.
Yes.
The new girl from Persona 5 Royals where she has her Fancy Thief design, and a lot of people were saying she's way too sexualized. I don't like this. But then a bunch of other people, like I know a lot of women actually on Twitter were vocal about it and saying, no, actually she's not really that sexualized at all. She's like wearing a leotard and like a coat, but she's wearing a leotard because she's a dancer. But if you think that's sexualized, that's more like on you than the character. Mm-hmm. And I think. Every so often, there's always a character people say is too sexualized. And, that's a big discussion that we don't have to go into now. Yeah. But it's always hard to say, like, is it okay to have sexualized characters? Is it not? Like, do we accept that kind of thing?
Yeah, and that's always going to be, like, a subjective thing across the board. Like, who's offended and who's not by something. And I think, I don't know, you said Persona 5 and, like, you said Kazumi. But, like, what I think is interesting is that, like, I remember people complaining about... what's her name? The Panther girl? I can't remember her name. I'm sorry.
Oh, Anne?
Yes. I remember people complaining about her, too, a little bit. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, but it's weird because I remember people complaining about her, but I don't know if did people complain about Xenoblade Chronicles 2? Like Pyra and Mithra?
No, they did. There's a lot of
Oh,
controversy.
they did? Okay. I wasn't sure because I didn't hear it, but that's just because, like...
No, there's a lot with that. But again, there's, men and women on both sides saying this character's too sexualized, it's like garbage design.
Yeah.
But then people saying, no, I actually like Pyra a lot. I like her design too. Like, I think a lot of, like, most of us can agree, could they tone down the sexualization of certain characters? Yeah, sure. Does every character need to be like that? No. More diversity would probably be good.
Yeah.
But I guess, obviously, it kind of is a character-by-character kind of thing. But it's always hard to see what kind of stance is the right stance, Because some people will always defend it or go against it, with fair arguments on both sides.
Yeah.
So it's always hard to say which side you should be looking at.
Yeah.
Because whenever one of these talks goes on, I look at it from both sides and I go, both sides are kind of valid, and I never really know what side to go on.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to, specifically for me, when it comes to Tifa and Barret and characters that are being kind of redone, like redesigned, for me, all that matters is that they preserve the character themselves. Mm-hmm. That's really at the core what I care about. Like, how they appear is I think, kind of not a separate issue, but like an issue in itself kind of thing. Like, what I care about mostly is, like, is the character cool? Will I like this character? Will I want to beat this character in a fight? Will I want to have this character as an ally? Like, as long as the interesting characteristics come from their personality, then I don't really have any complaints. You know what I mean? So when it comes to Tifa specifically, just so long as it preserves her coolness, that's fine. That's all I need for me, personally.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's very complex.
Yeah.
I'd be down to maybe revisit this sometime in the future.
Yeah, because I would love to, because I want to see if this gets more traction. I guess, like, if more people come out and say, like, oh, well, Tifa's always been like this, because I don't know if it's gonna get worse or gonna get better or just kind of fade away like it always kind of does. But I would like to revisit this topic because it's a big one. It's a big one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, I mean, with a bunch of design, this Xenoblade Chronicles 2, even Pokemon has had some of that recently.
Yes, oh my gosh, yes.
But, I'd be down to talk about this kind of thing on another podcast. Whenever good and ready for it.
So, to be continued on this one, but I think we got some good traction here.
Yeah. Another current topic, a few days ago, as of this recording, Evangelion has now been added on Netflix. And a lot of interesting discussion has been brought up. So when it was announced that Netflix was gonna bring Evangelion, I think what a lot of people thought the discussions would be is the old fans watching new fans get into it, and because that show came out in the late 90s.
Yes.
Some of that stuff doesn't hold up in terms of being like PC and kind of that stuff. Some people could take things the wrong way, and even back then I think it was supposed to be kind of shocking, but for story purposes.
Yeah.
But with the way things are, people thought, we'll see how people respond to Ava, new fans and all that. But somehow it's actually become more internal in terms of the old fan base, because a little while ago they announced that the old dub would not be on Netflix. Netflix get a re-record, or they would get to add a new dub for all the characters, and the new dub has come out, and people don't like it very much. I listened to some of it. I think, in the beginning, I did not like it at all. I've looked at more of it, and I think it's fine. I don't know if I like it more than the old cast, but I think part of that is just kind of nostalgia, and just they've also been playing these characters for I don't know, 20 years, almost 20 years. So it's hard to jump to new voices for the characters we've known.
I was just about to ask, did they recast?
They recast everybody.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know a whole lot about this issue. I know that it came to Netflix, and I know that there was a controversy around it. I don't know 100% what it is, but what you've said so far is ringing bells. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they re-sub it too? A little bit? They changed a few things.
They did. So this is a lot of layers to what's happening.
Yeah.
So first on the dub versus people not liking it. On top of that, there's been new translations of it with the subtitles. I think the subtitles are the same as the dub. What they speak is what you read, from what I hear. Haven't looked at the subs myself,
Mm-hmm.
but they did new translations for it, and like, I guess first up, they changed certain lines and things like that.
Yeah.
And the reasoning for it, I actually have a quote
Mm-hmm.
from the person who did it.
Yeah, because I did see a lot of, like, I saw, I don't know, on Instagram, which is what I use for like my whatever.
Yeah.
I saw like a comparison between the two, and like they showed a really like very, like just generic scene kind of, and like the phrasing was like negligible at best. But like, I feel like that's kind of a big deal. Like it's one thing to redub, but like resubbing is kind of a big deal because that's like how people.
So I don't know how. I don't speak Japanese at all.
No.
And so for this kind of thing, it's always hard.
Yeah.
To say, if you're not a native speaker, what was said in the original Japanese versus what was translated back in the 90s versus what is translated now. What is more accurate? What is less accurate? From what I've seen, I don't know if this is 100% true. People have been saying it's just more direct to the original Japanese translations.
Yeah, that's what I've been kind of
and
seeing.
Because in the 90s they change it to fit more, I guess.
Yeah.
But on Twitter, the guy who did the new translations came out and tried to explain what he was doing, and he says the power of storytelling sometimes depends on the ability of audiences to establish emotional relationships with the characters, as well as recognize intimacy between people based on inferences. It is one thing for characters to confess their love, it is quite another for the audience to infer affection and leave them guessing. How committed are the characters? What possible misunderstandings might be taking place? Leaving room for interpretation makes things exciting. And so what this refers to specifically is in like the third to last episode, there's a new character that is introduced, and he is like into Shinji a little bit. 20 years ago, there was discussion about if he's gay, or if both of them have like a gay relationship, or if it's just him like being super friendly. Huge topic like 20 years ago, but it's kind of come up again because what happened is, specifically for this, the character, instead of saying "I love you" to Shinji, he says "I like you," and so people, especially from like the gay community, were like, "What is this?" Especially during Pride Month, that's not a good look.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? And then he says "I like you," and then there's a scene like after that character's death when Shinji says he said that he loved me. That's the first time anyone's ever told that to me. He said he gave me this kind of affection, and now that Shinji just says he said that he liked me, and he said that I was worthy of his grace, and that's been that's becoming a meme where he's instead of saying I love you, he says you're worthy of my grace.
Oh, okay. You know what? Now that you say that, I have heard that before.
Yeah. So, a lot of people are saying, like and love and translating to Japanese.
Yeah.
I don't know any of that. And so it's kind of an argument of, well, does love versus like in Japanese, is like, what's the difference there? But just this character saying versus I love you, very explicit to saying I like you, to like jumping around, or even you're worthy of my grace. It's put people up in arms kind of about it.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you know this, but like have the Japanese creators or like any of the people, the staff involved with the original, like have they come out and said anything about it yet, or?
They haven't said anything, but people are mad at Netflix because they're like, oh, Netflix is just changing the subtitles and everything.
Yeah.
However, what people don't know is that it's really the original, the studio. Studio Kara, I think that's how you say it. That's how I say it. They own the rights to Eva because the director of Eva owns that studio.
Yeah.
And so any translations and stuff have to go through them because it's their property. And so really they're the ones in charge of the new translations.
Okay.
Not really Netflix. Netflix just, has to take it and, dub it or put on the subs. So they haven't really come out and said it, but it's also that people have been putting the putting hate directly on Netflix.
Yeah.
When they should be looking at the studio who's in charge of that instead.
That's a little. That's weird. That's a lot.
Yeah, so
it's kind of what we were just talking about almost, where it's like not necessarily censorship, but or censorship. Sorry, not necessarily censorship, but like the concept of like redesigning things. You know, making them more contemporary in a weird way. I don't know if I would say that that's making it contemporary or making something logical. Like giving Tifa a sports bra makes sense, but taking away something that could be pretty, what sounds like really, what is the word I'm thinking of? Like, impactful.
Yeah.
Like, reducing the impact of a line is that's a big deal. Like, you can't do that in a show. Like,
yeah, because that's actually a big part of that character, too. Yeah. And, like, from all the spin-offs and stuff, that kind of remains intact. That aspect of that character. Again, there's a lot of discussion about if he's actually gay towards this certain character, or if it's just like a really deep friendship and all that.
Yeah.
But just the translator's response to it is really interesting. I don't know if he's trying to, if that's actually how he feels, or if he's just trying to
mask it. Mask it a little, kind of do a little damage
save
control.
Damage control it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that he would say, like, well, it's versus what people can guess from that saying versus just having it given to you.
Yeah, and I think that all applies to the context of the work itself. Like, I don't... Like, you have to tell me this. Like, is Evangelion really a show about guessing? Like, people's emotions and stuff like that? Like... Because I haven't seen the show. I've seen very little of it. I've seen snippets of it. I've heard about it, of course. But, like, I feel like it all kind of applies to context. Like... I don't know...
So, like, what do you mean?
Like... I don't know. Like, I don't feel as though... Like, what he says... Like, to go back to what he says. His statement about, like, leaving it up to the audience to kind of decide for that is... And him saying that it's more fun that way. Like, I don't know how I feel about that. Because, like, on one hand, I think he's right to kind of, like, give fans a little... Or, like, not fans, but, like, you know, audiences a little, like... Well, what do you think? Kind of thing. Like a little point of discussion. But on the other hand, it's kind of like, well, I don't think you should sacrifice a translation for that necessarily. And so what I mean when I ask, like, is Evangelion a show about guessing? Is it like, is Evangelion full of, like, mysteries to the point where it's like, none of this stuff, like these things, where'd they go? What happened to them? Like, kind of these... Do you
mean like keeping characters' intentions like ambiguous?
Yes, thank you.
I would say that a big part of it is like... A big part of the show is they present characters and then they peel them layer by layer and you really get to know these characters inside and out.
Yeah.
So I would say by the end of the show you really... You know, if you're paying attention, you really understand where each character is coming from. But with this character in specific, I don't think... At least coming from me, I feel like it isn't kind of, what do you call it? It's not really argue for debate. I think it's definitely like he comes onto Shinji very strong. He's only in one episode of the show, but he comes onto the character very strong, and you're like, okay, he definitely has those kind of emotions towards Shinji. Whether Shinji reciprocated them or not, that's, I think, more of a point for discussion.
Yeah.
But I think that character having those feelings towards Shinji, that's definitely... very in your face about it. I don't think I don't think any part is like, well, like, how is he? Like, one of the first scenes is like them taking a bath, and he kind of shows them affection. You know, they don't do anything, but I think just having that scene and having them bond in that scene specifically, that kind of context, definitely kind of like, yeah, this is what they're going for.
Yeah, worthy of his graces. Yeah. But but see, that's kind of what I mean is like. Again, I think it's a context thing where it's like, when you change it to something that feels insanely less impactful, I think you're just kind of overstepping a line. Like, is it more fun for audiences? I don't know. Maybe someone out there, but like, I feel like if a character is not going to last very long, you said he's in one episode?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of a big deal. You know what I mean? And especially if like the main character has like a big, kind of realization moment, which it sounds like he kind of does. You know what I mean? Where he tells about like how he told me he loved me. You know, he's the only one who ever like I would say that's a pretty significant detail.
Yeah, because the point of the character is that he shows up for one episode, he gives Shinji the kind of affection and love that he needs in that moment, but then it's taken away.
Yes.
That's the power of that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like when you say it's like worthy of my graces, I feel like you are reducing a lot of the impact of a character's entire arc in life, and I don't know. So again, it's, you know, kind of like the last one. It's a little loaded, but if I had to say, I think it all comes back down to like the Japanese. I'm curious though. I'm again like the previous discussion we just had. I'm curious to see where this goes because I know this is still relatively fresh.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see if this is going to eventually reach the Japanese audience where then they can clarify this is what the translation literally verbatim was. Mm-hmm. Because that happens. Because I've seen a lot of that actually where it's like, what anime was it or what show was it where they bring out, I think it was actually Smash Brothers or something like that, where they bring out like the actual Japanese translation of something. And it's a little bit more severe than the American or like the American version, yeah. So, I don't know. Like, I guess for me, or my stance on it is like, I just want to see where this is kind of going, because this is fascinating to me to see that like this is a big deal. Like, you know what I mean?
No,
yeah.
Like the most we thought that the fandom thought was gonna happen is, oh, we'll see how the new fans react, or at the most we'll see like media outlets taking Ava and misinterpreting it about what it really means, but it's become a more internal debate about a character and the way he's portrayed in this new version. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been a lot of layers to this discussion.
Yeah, but you know, like I said, keep me posted on this. This is interesting because like that's weird. I don't think I've ever heard of a show coming to America and then kind of getting, well, it's happened before because I think Funimation got in trouble for doing something like that. I don't know what show it was. But I don't know what show it was, but I remember there was a show where the Japanese original had nothing to do with any sort of particular situation. It was just about what was going on. But I believe Funimation changed it to like talk about Gamergate or something like that.
Okay.
There was some weird controversy.
I'm sure. I just don't remember.
I don't remember which one it was, but I remember that this was like it was a weird thing, and people were just confused by it, and they didn't really understand what happened. So that sounds like kind of a similar, maybe not similar, but like something of that nature, where it's like something's just lost in translation. But it's funny because we were just talking about how, you know, things are more direct. You know, back in the day, Final Fantasy VII gets these terrible translations and grammatical errors, but like now, that really shouldn't happen, you know, with all the tools we have to translate things. And it's like, now we have to make sure that the translators are saying what's actually been said, you know? Mm-hmm. So, this is a big one. Yeah. That's a really tough one.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion. But also, they took off Fly Me to the Moon, which is the ending song for for Evangelion.
What did they replace it with?
Nothing. I don't think there's a new song or anything. So, you know, there's an intro and ending song.
Yeah.
They took out the ending song. I think that's mostly just a licensing thing. Netflix probably would have had to pay too much for that song. I know I think it's still very popular, but
Fly Me to the Moon, is it a remix? Or is it an original like Frank Sinatra? Because that's a popular song.
Yeah. It's definitely the remix of it, but I don't know.
I'll have to look into that because Bayonetta uses that song too.
It does.
And that song's in Smash Brothers, which
I don't know.
Like
maybe
Fly Me to the Moon is not.
Maybe it was that specific version. Maybe it was just the song in general, but it's not in the show anymore, and people are like, "Where's my that song is amazing."
Yeah, well, Evangelion's opening and ending opening. I haven't heard the ending, but the opening is really good.
Yeah, but you know, obviously a smaller thing in terms of what we just talked about.
Yeah, of course.
But I don't know.
All the more necessary though.
Yeah,
like let's
redubbing, taking out my favorite song, and changing a character's intentions.
What's going on?
These are all equally as important.
Yeah. Netflix and anime have a very strange relationship.
People thought.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. This is just a completely side note. But did you know that show Blame? Were you the one who told me this, or was Colton the one who told me this?
Probably Colton. I've heard of this show.
So,
I don't think I've ever seen it.
So I haven't heard about it, but like the title, it's not supposed to be said as blame.
No?
It's blam.
Oh, but there's an E.
That's what I said, but apparently it's blam, and I'm like, wait, what? That doesn't make any sense. And he's shown me the original like manga, and it's blam, and I'm like, did they just not care? Like what the heck? Like why would they put an E there? We say blame. What? Like I was so confused. I think that's true. I'm not 100%, but like I know that the title is like it's supposed to be blam, and it says blame, and I was like, why is there an exclamation point? Like that's a really big accusation, but.
Well, everybody was excited for Ava to be available legally on a wide platform because it's been out of print and nobody can watch it legally.
Yeah.
And now people are wondering if this is even the right version of the show to watch in terms of the dub, because the new dub, or the subs, because people say the subs are just wrong.
Yeah.
Or just different. So
it's a big issue.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah, especially when you don't read Japanese. Or speak Japanese.
I'll probably update you on the situation.
Yeah, hopefully we can come back to this topic and give it a little refresher, because this and the past one are just so interesting because they're still going on.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see these go. Yeah.
Especially these types of discussions. Yes. They're always going on with some kind of show.
Yeah.
Or media, you know? It's just the next show or game that is a part of this discussion. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, so I think that's it for this discussion, but I know there's a discussion Blake really wants to talk about, and that is part of the biggest franchise in the world.
Oh, it's Pokemon, baby.
It's
Pokemon.
Okay, Blake.
Okay,
you can take the reins.
I have literally held off talking to him about this until this very day. Yo.
Okay, what's happening, Blake?
Okay. So let me give you a very, very abridged scenario. Okay. So Sword and Shield has just recently gotten its biggest direct, which is just to announce that the game is here to give us some features. We got things like Dynamax, we got like a turnable camera, we got, I think it's called Pokemon areas or something like that, or like field areas, like Pokemon fields or something like that.
Something areas.
Yeah, basically
hunting area. I don't know.
Like catching areas or something like that. It's kind of like basically it's the Safari Zone. It's just not the Safari Zone.
Yes.
And basically, it's like, they are basically hammering in that these, they showed off some new Pokemon. They showed off the adorable Wooloo. They showed off the badass-looking Corviknight. They showed off some great-looking Pokemon, some great-looking areas. We got our new new gym leader. We got the champion. We got a lot of features, but so everybody was super hyped, right? So, but during E3... we got some very unfortunate news that I think has actually killed the hype of this game, which is a big deal for Pokemon. And that is the announcement that you can only transfer Pokemon from Pokemon Home, which is an app that they made specifically to transfer Pokemon to. You can only transfer Pokemon from Pokemon Home if they appear in the Galar Pokedex. So, people were like, okay, well, what does that mean? And they only can come to one conclusion. There ain't no national dex in the Galar region. That's a big deal. Kind of. Alright? Recently, there was a kind of article that had Junichi Masuda, I believe is Masuda, talking about like the fact that there's 1,000 Pokemon now, counting forms, I don't know if he counts Mega Evolutions, but I'm assuming he counts Mega Evolutions. He said, with Galar, we're going to have 1,000 plus Pokemon. That's way too much Pokemon to have in this game because we're going to be spending so much time on the animations and the graphics and all this stuff. You can tell that I'm really passionate about this because I'm talking really fast.
You good.
But so now everybody's really upset because they basically kind of came out and said, hey, we know you like this Pokemon, but you might not get a chance to get them. And that sucks. And this is a big deal because some people's favorite Pokemon will not be available in Generation 8. And I hope to God not, but possibly going forward. Because, we don't know how many Pokemon are in this game, number one. And number two, we do not know how many Pokemon are going to be in the Galar Dex. Could be 500, could be 600, could be 300. We don't know.
No. How many hundreds of Pokemon do you think will not be in this game?
Well, in Masuda's comment...
the game's coming out in November. And they haven't said how many Pokemon are not going to be in this game.
So Masada said that they're going to try to bring in everybody's favorites, right? They're going to try to bring in as many fan favorites as possible. I'm thinking they're going to exclude more or less, quote unquote, and I really hate to say this word, but like generic mons. Like, I don't think we're going to see Farfetch'd. I don't think we're going to see Sudowoodo, which is a personal tragedy in my book. I freaking love that mon. I don't think we're going to see like Nose Pass. Maybe we'll see Nose Pass. I don't know. But like, I think actually I take that back. I think Nose Pass was in one of the trailers, so I might be wrong. I hope I'm wrong because, you know, Nose Pass is cool. But I don't know. It's a really hard estimate because, again, there's like 1,000 Pokemon now. But this is a big deal because at the Pokemon, I think it was a press conference that they held, they talked about Pokemon Home, and they hyped it up to be this next kind of step from Pokemon Bank, which is what I used. Sun and Moon, let me just go back to Sun and Moon a little bit. Sun and Moon was fantastic in the sense that it didn't hold any restrictions. I transferred so many Pokemon from my old games from like Leaf Green all the way up to Generation 8 Gen 7, sorry, all the way up to Generation 7. We're on Gen 8 now. I always get that mixed up. And like I brought over like Geodudes, like Kanto Geodude. I brought over Charmander and bred up a shiny Charmander, got a shiny Charizard. Oh, baby. I got Voltorb and Electrode, bred a shiny Electrode. I love that mon. He took me all the way through the battle tree with a Gyarados and a Gardevoir. That was my three set. I love Electrode. And, I mean, it was great. Like, I was able to trade with you and my friend Colton and give you guys, like, all the mons you guys wanted because I had a ton. I think I gave you Trico.
Probably.
I think I was able to give you a Trico. I gave my friend some weird mons because he wanted some weird ones. Because Colton wanted to name things weird things. Like, he's like, can I have a... What did he say? Can I have a... What's the three-headed dragon? That name I cannot remember.
Trudegon?
Yeah. No, not Trudegon. He's the dragon type, Dragon Dark. Oh, I can't remember his name.
That's okay.
Oh, it's important because I'm losing all my Pokemon knowledge slowly because I haven't had the game. Rest in peace. But like, I forget. Oh God, I cannot remember his name. It's really bothering me. But like, he's like, can I have a three-headed dragon one so I can name it King Ghidorah? And I'm like, sure, buddy, I'll get you one right now. So I bred one up and I got him to it. And like, that was so fun because like I enjoyed giving Pokemon to my friends and then using their Pokemon to breed like cool combinations. And I got like Oddish, I got like Victory Bell, I got Pokemon from, you remember when the Generation 1 games dropped on the 3DS eShop? I brought Pokemon from there up to there, and like they were great. I bred Blastoise. I had like a Zapdos that was huge on my competitive
Blake is
team.
a very big fan of Pokemon.
I am a huge fan of Pokemon.
He's the biggest Pokemon fan I know.
So this is and so to go to Generation 8, this kind of sucks because like number one, it sucks for a few reasons. Number one, they announced Pokemon Home was a thing before they said this comment. Had they not announced Pokemon Home, I feel like the blow would have been a little softer because people would have been like, okay, well, we don't even know if Pokemon Bank works with this game. Secondly, I think it's a big deal because they've said that they're trying to, number one, work on the animations and like the graphics.
So, I guess the reasoning is what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
What do you think about the reasoning?
Okay, we've talked about this before. We had an argument about, well, not an argument, but a discussion about the graphics. You know what I mean?
Okay,
and we were talking about specifically the presentation. And my side of the argument or the conversation was that the graphics aren't a big deal to me because I think that they're updated models from Generation 8, and that's really all. Yes, thank you. I keep doing that.
There you go.
They're updated models from Generation 7, and for me, that was all I kind of needed. I would have liked a little bit more vibrancy in the colors because a lot of Pokemon had their colors washed out because of the 3DS. Specifically, like the Poliwraths, they had like this nice like tint of blue, and now they're kind of like this weird kind of opaque. Same with Blastoise. Who had a one that was really hit hard? Lantern. Lantern had the shiny form just destroyed. It used to be this nice, vivid purple, and now it's like this weird mix of blue and purple. It just does not look any different. And shoot, don't even get me started on the evolutions having like almost no difference on the 3D models. for their shiny forms. But like, for me, it was fine as long as they made the adjustments necessary. No more of the the low polys, the low, the little, what is it called, aliasing, where it's like it looks all rough. As long as they just updated them, maybe threw in some new animations, and maybe just made it look cleaner, I'd be okay. But like, from what I've seen so far, they haven't done like anything to justify this level of decision. Because to me, if you're going to spend so much time on the presentation, you better make that game look good. If you're going to remove Pokemon, which is the core, like, foundation of the series.
Collecting all the Pokemon.
Yes. If you're going to remove Pokemon, which, by the way, that's a huge deal. Like, I know that sounds silly, but, like, that's a huge deal. Because Pokemon are the core of the series. That's why it's called Pokemon. If you're going to remove Pokemon to spend so much time on the animations, you better make it look, like you said in the argument we talked about, you better make it look like Dragon Quest XI.
It better look like you're spending a lot of time on these animations.
Yes. And if that's the case, I don't want updated Generation 7 models. I want new models. Mm-hmm. You better do that. Because that's not fair. Because, this is one thing that I've learned about Pokemon. This is kind of to go into it. Some people's favorite Pokemon is literally like Farfetch'd. And if that Pokemon's not in Generation 8, that person's going to be really sad. That's upsetting. Like, that sucks, Like, we'll get Wooloo, but maybe we won't get Mareep. That's really sad, And so, what do you think? I've talked, like, for 30 minutes straight about this.
My first question is, so, like before you said the presentation doesn't matter as much, right? And I get that. I do get that view. But would you say because of this reasoning, you think that the reasoning of, because of the new presentation and the new animations, we can't bring in all the Pokemon, that has kind of not switched you sides, but saying, well, if you're going to say you're not putting in all the Pokemon, I guess you're saying it has to be one or the other.
Absolutely. Here's my
if they're not putting in all the Pokemon, make it look better. If they're putting in all the Pokemon, and then it's fine.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Because if you're going to use it as an excuse, as you're going to use it as an excuse, then I want this game to look really, really good. And don't get me wrong, it looks okay. It looks good. Like, the environments look great, but the Pokemon look exactly the same. Mm-hmm. And that's my thing, though. Like, if you're going to exclude Pokemon to put extra time on these animations and these, like the environments, then I want this game to look really, really good.
Okay.
I love Pokemon's art style, and I don't want that to be sacrificed, but, like, do something unique, Like, I watched a video, and I sent it to you. I don't know if you watched it, but it was, like, a comparison between the battle animations we had in Pokemon Sword and Shield, what we've seen so far, and the battle animations we had in Pokemon Stadium for the N64. And the N64, it had some low poly stuff, but every Pokemon, all 150 of them, all 150 of them had a unique battle intro and fainting animation. We don't have that anymore.
So that wasn't even Game Freak. That was a different studio. So you're saying, I guess, because they're bringing up the presentation and saying because of that the presentation you see, that's taking away from all the other Pokemon.
Yes.
Then that's why it's a problem.
Yes,
because they never really brought up. Yes. They never really brought up the presentation before.
Yes. If the presentation was to stay at the level it's at right now, from what we've seen, I want all the Pokemon. Or at least compatibility with Pokemon Home. Like, I don't understand why that's an issue. Like, you don't need the frickin' National Dex. The Sun and Moon didn't have National Dex, but you could still transfer over Geodude. Like regular Geodude or Machop or whoever was. Oh, both those Pokemon are in the game. Could you not transfer? Like Illumise or something like that. You know what I mean? Like Volbeat or whatever. Like, I could transfer them over. You know what I mean? Even if they weren't in the Sun and Moon Pokedex. That's not going to happen in Galar, and that's really frustrating. And another reason that they said they can't do it is because of balancing.
Okay, so that's so. You asked me like what I thought first.
Yes,
I kind of with you where it does suck. I'm not as passionate about Pokemon as you are. I've gone kind of not dried out. What's the word?
Burnt out.
Burnt out. There you go.
Yeah.
Burnt out since like Gen 6. Gen 6 was fine. Gen 7 was better, but not what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Gen 8 looks good. I'm not like super hyped about it, but I will play because
Yeah.
I'm forced by me, my own moral code, to play every Pokemon game in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think it sucks, but I think the fact that they're saying the presentation is the reason is weird because they're making they're new models, right? They're not just the 3DS models upscaled, or are they?
So as far as I can tell, they are. They are just the 3DS models, ripped out, upscaled, which means that they've taken away aliasing, probably added a few more polygons, and maybe touched up the...
Okay, so it's not that they can't use the 3DS models, and they're making new ones that look like them. They're just literally the same models.
From what I can tell, yes.
But better.
Because they don't move. They don't move any differently than the way they did. See, they did something. It's kind of... I think it's like a Smash 4 thing, where a lot of characters just came the same and they just updated the models, made them a little bit more colorful. I think that's what's happening.
Okay.
As far as I can tell. I can't 100% guarantee that.
In terms of the models, presentation, I don't think that's a good reasoning. Just because the models of Pokemon, I guess ever since like 3D, have never been the most expressive.
Mm-mm.
Like Gen 5 has some of the most expressive 2D sprites ever made.
Mm-hmm.
The 3D models look good, but they're not very expressive, right?
No.
Like, you see Wingull flying, and he's not flapping his wings or anything. He's gliding.
He's T-posing.
Yeah.
Literally just T-posing in the air.
He's gliding and just changing the direction.
Yes.
I think that's just, like, not a good explanation. But then also, balancing. I remember we argued about this, about what they meant, because I was just confused, and I remember you tried to explain it.
Yeah.
At least, maybe you still can. But for me, I was thinking balancing. So you don't want to break the game. Maybe they're adding something new. But balancing? You don't balance Pokemon.
Yeah, so...
Pokemon isn't... Nobody goes to tournaments like almost every Pokemon is viable and balanced and fair.
No.
Everybody plays a select few Pokemon because they're the most broken ones, which... That's not an issue. That happens in every fighting game. But balance... They don't balance Pokemon.
No, and this is confusing to me. So, to give you some context, and I brought this up when we were talking about it over Hangouts chat, is... like, the last time they ever made a game where you couldn't bring your previous generation Pokemon up to the most recent generation was Generation 3. And the reason you couldn't do that was because they were reworking the EV system. Because I believe prior to Generation 2, EVs didn't exist. IVs only did. No, I'm sorry, wrong way around. IVs didn't exist. EVs were the only thing that mattered. And they reworked them in Generation 3 to make them more stable, more easily kind of, not manipulated, but easy to control. They gave you items to use that and whatever. So that's the last time they ever did that. Since then, you've been able to transfer your mons from Generation 3 all the way to 7. In some way, whether it be through Pokemon Bank, through the Generation 4 Safari Garden, all these different ways. Even Pokemon Let's Go lets you do that from Go and whatever. So I came up with the theory that they are doing something to the IVs or EVs, or they're going to take them away and give us something new, like a more central system, like, I don't know, CVs or whatever. They're going to do something. So my theory is that they're going to do something big to make Pokemon training either easier or more fair or competitive. Here's the problem, though. That's not going to change a lot of Pokemon's stats. Here's my thing, though. Generation 8 or Generation 7 did give buffs. Even though people didn't realize this, they gave them buffs to Pokemon that weren't even in Sun and Moon. Electrode had, I believe, a 10-point buff in his speed. He's not in Sun and Moon. You can't catch that Pokemon. Farfetch'd had, I believe, a 30 or 40-point buff to its speed, which didn't do much for him, but like it raised it up a little bit. You can't catch Farfetch'd in Sun and Moon.
Okay.
So, in Generation 8, they could add stat changes. They could buff or nerf stats, but why? Like, I don't see the value in that. Like, I think Junichi Masuda said that they're trying to keep esports in mind, which is funny because we were talking about that a little earlier. But Pokemon has never been a very, esports central scene at all. Like, Smash Brothers, yes. But Smash Brothers is different. Smash Brothers is a fighting game. Pokemon is an adventure game with RPG elements, and then it has like a battle and trading system kind of on the side, you know? The fact that they're putting that into focus is weird, and I just don't get it. Like, no matter what you do, Snorlax will always be a really good Pokemon. Just because of his abilities, his moveset, his stats. Snorlax is great. You don't have to... Nobody's complaining about Snorlax or Gyarados or whatever. And they add Pokemon that break the games already. I don't know how many stories I've heard about people getting their entire team mopped by Necrozma. Not Necrozma, but Ultra Necrozma?
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's Ultra Necrozma. No. Oh. Duskwing or whatever. Duskwing, yeah, whatever. So, Necrozma. The super dragon.
Yeah.
The super psychic dragon Pokemon. Like, I've heard so many stories of people getting their entire teams mopped by that. Mega Rayquaza is so powerful, he's banned from everything. You literally can't have that Mon in anything. Mega Mewtwo, either form, is OP. Mega Kyogre and Primal Groudon, I'm sorry, not Mega Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre they're so powerful you can't change the weather on them. Like, they literally have to cancel each other out. The only way to counter Primal Groudon is to have Primal Kyogre. That's the only way to beat him, or Mega Rayquaza. Now is not the time to be thinking of balance. Now is just the time to be making a fun game. Like, people will pick whatever Pokemon they want. Someone won an entire World Championship with Pachirisu in Generation 6. And it was one of the most hype Pokemon matches ever. And it was a Pachirisu.
Yeah. So you're saying you don't think that there's any changes that are big enough for them to warrant not putting in Pokemon for balancing?
I don't think so, but then again, they're not saying what they're doing. Like, they could rework the Eevee and IV system, but they didn't do it in Let's Go Pikachu or Eevee, because it works the exact same way in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. And that's my thing, is it's like, if they were going to do it, I feel like the spin-off would be the best way to do it. Like, the spin-off that was going to do successfully no matter what. Honestly. Like, Let's Go was going to be a well-selling game no matter what. And it did. It sold crazy. But, like, Generation 8, you're going to make the next main series have a big, huge change that has, like, I just don't understand. Like, the only thing for me is, like, if you're going to make a big change, I just want to know what big change you're making. Mm-hmm. And it's weird because they're also, and this is the next thing we can go on to, they're also taking away Z moves and Mega Evolutions entirely. Did you not want them in the first place? Like, okay, to be fair. Sorry, no, go ahead. You're going to say something.
Well, I guess before we move on to that.
Yeah.
Versus, like, me versus you.
Yeah.
You can see maybe there's something they're adding. But I think they would have told us in the Pokemon Direct or at E3 that if there was something big happening in terms of changes. Maybe there still is.
There's something big. It's called Dynamaxing.
But I feel like saying the presentation or the balancing, I think those are just excuses because Pokemon is a series that comes out with a new mainline title every like 2-3 years, right?
Yes. And
I think it's become so big at this point, they can't really push it back. Because, like, certain games come out, like Metroid Prime 4. They said that game's not looking good enough. We're restarting. It's being pushed back. We're sorry. Pokemon's a huge franchise. There's the anime. There's merchandise coming out for new Pokemon. At least become so big where they can't push it back. And they're just trying to give us reasons for why they can't put all the stuff in. Because I think another thing, I would maybe believe them if they said balancing. Presentation's one thing, which I don't believe.
Yeah, no,
I don't think anyone believes that.
Nobody believes that.
But balancing's okay, maybe. But it's the fact that I think it was Masuda or someone from the Pokemon company, Game Freak, said, we may not get national Pokédexes from any of the future games. Because they said, we don't know if, like, this game definitely won't. Maybe in the future, do patches, maybe? I don't know. But they said, we can't even confirm in future games if all the Pokemon will be there. They said that, and I'm thinking, if we were balancing, maybe Gen 8, you can't have all the Pokemon. Gen 9, okay, all the balancing is done, you put them all in. I think it's just, they can't put them all in because of, like, time.
Yeah. That's what
I don't believe the presentation or the balancing.
And that's what I think is, like, it's all excuses. It's like, and that's frustrating. Like, I think I mentioned this to you back in our chat, where it was like, I genuinely am with you in the belief, at least for me, where it's like, they really were not ready to bring this to home console. Because, like, the graphics are serviceable, but they're not like anything extraordinary. And I was like, okay, that's fine as long as you have just like a boatload of Pokemon. Like, and I'm able to bring the ones that I don't have back.
Which is actually really funny because you said the one thing that really matters
is the Pokemon. Yes.
And they're not even giving you the most important thing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's so frustrating about it is like, I really like what they're showing off with this game. It looks hype. I love the new Pokemon. I love the new region. I love the new gyms. I like, there's so much to love. But man, when you take away the core foundation of like the series, the whole reason I love it, like, it's really sad. Like, I know my favorites will probably be there. Like, I'll see Gyarados and I'll see Snorlax because those people, you know, those are like monster going to be there forever. But like, Sudowoodo is a favorite of mine, and I don't think he's going to be in the game. Like, people don't really care about Sudowoodo or Snubbull or, you know, like Pokemon that like I just have a big connection with, you know? And it's like, man, like, that's gonna suck. Like, I have to raise just what's limited to me, you know? Like, whatever's in this game, and that's it, you know? And for them to say, like, going forward, like, I appreciate the honesty, I guess, but, like, why? Like, I mean, people are willing to love and wait for, I mean, Pokemon is a completely different franchise from Mario, but like, or Zelda, but like, man, it really does feel like Pokemon's just kind of becoming a, kind of like a, what is it, like an Assassin's Creed or Call of Duty thing, like a yearly release, and then we're just going to push out all this merchandise. Here's a show, here's a you know, here's all the toys, here's all the cards, here's all the this, and it's like, that's depressing. Like, because Pokemon felt like, yeah, it was the only yearly franchise that didn't do that. It didn't need to do that. You know what I mean? Because, like, you know, I don't know. I know for you, like, Generation 6 and Generation 7 were, like, kind of underwhelming. I know for a lot of people didn't like Generation 6, but, like, I don't know, man. I love that game. Like, it was fun, and I had a great time, and there was, like, I captured that feeling of walking into tall grass and having no idea what you're going to catch, you know? I love that feeling. And now it's like, well, I'm not going to catch anything crazy, you know? So, I don't know.
But when you say that people are saying that it looks like they weren't ready for jumping to home console, that's weird, though, right? Because Pokemon is the biggest franchise in the world.
Yes.
It seems weird. It may not even be Game Freak's fault. It's probably not. But why aren't more resources being put in to Pokemon? Like, that's weird.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Like, this is the main series game. Like, this is the thing that birthed Pokemon.
Like, if it's Kid Icarus or like even Metroid, you know?
Metroid, Star Fox, F-Zero,
this is,
you know,
Pokemon. It's not just Nintendo's biggest franchise. It's one of the biggest franchises in the world. Just ever.
Yeah.
It's weird, man.
It is weird. I don't even know. Like I said, this is where all the shows, all the cards, all the stuff came from. Is from the games. It came from Red and Blue, and then people got Poke Fever, and then they got Generation 2. The core games were like the reason I love Pokemon. I didn't really care about the cards and the shows and whatever. It's like, it's just weird to see them not put in that same level of care that they did into Generation 7, because Generation 7 had so many good things. No HMs, a battle tree with old rivals, like you had freaking Cynthia, you had Wally from Generation 3, you had Red and Blue, You had, God, like that was so great. You had Mega Evolutions. You had a free Zygarde. A free Zygarde for no reason. You just walk down, here's a piece of Zygarde, go find the rest of them. Zygarde, oh my God, like shoot, you know, like it had Salamence, it had Garchomp, it had like so many Pokemon inside, and if you didn't have the ones you wanted, boom, transfer them up. Like, Generation 7 was to me just magic because it just had so much in it. You know, it made breeding better, it made battling easier, or like, I'm sorry, not battling, training, with the XP share buffs and the bands that can lead to IV training and EV training better. The way to read IVs, like, it just was so good, and like Generation 8 is going to just have that magic cut in half. Like, I'll still have fun with Dynamax, I'll still have fun playing through the adventure, I'll still have fun with the Pokemon that I have, but I'm not going to be able to bring my like level 100 Charizard back, you know? Like, that Pokemon's sitting there in Generation 7, you know? And it's just, I don't know, just kind of sucks, you know?
Yeah. It's really bad to see, because this is like, for a lot of people, the final nail in the coffin, because, you know, like, a bunch of people have been having problems with Pokemon. Yeah. I know since, like, forever. Yeah. In terms of, like, changes and all that.
Yes.
But especially since Gen 6, people having more problems.
Yeah.
And Gen 7, people going, well, it's cool, but, like, we wanted more. Okay, well, and everybody's been saying one thing. When the Switch version comes out, that's when we'll get, like, a new big jump. And a lot of it does look really cool, but I think for a lot of people, they're like, this doesn't look like a big jump to home consoles.
Yeah.
It looks like just like another entry.
Because everybody else had a big one. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Breath of the Wild was a massive change.
That's
true. A massive change to the Zelda formula. Like, that game almost has nothing to do with Zelda in terms of its gameplay style. Mm-hmm. Like, exploration and adventure and Master Sword, of course, but like, and dungeons and, you know, all that stuff is still there, but like, it's so open.
Yeah.
Mario Odyssey is like, yeah, it was just a playground for Mario, really. And then Kirby Star Allies, while maybe a little bit underwhelming, it still had a lot of like, what's the word? Ambition behind it. Like, behind the music, behind the updates with all these characters, the free updates bringing all the star friends, you know, like that's cool. You know what I mean? It's like Return to Dreamland on steroids almost, you know? A little short of a game, I'll admit. But like, they added so much to it with free updates just to make it more fun. Just for the sake of doing it, you know? I look at Pokemon, which, like you said, that's the biggest franchise ever, and I just feel like they're just shutting them, they're digging their own grave, kind of, you know? Like, you know, and then for them to say, like, well, going forward, we might not even have the rest of Pokemon. It's like, why did you make 1,000 of them? Oh. Like, you're just kind of sitting there and you're like, then why did you bother? Like, why don't you just make Pokemon Ultimate or something? Like, every single Pokemon right here, this game, it's a brand new region. It's like the center of the Pokemon world. You get to go out and catch whatever you want, however you want. Here, we're going to make all these great, like, you know what I mean? Like, just start with that and then spend time on Generation 9 and make it bigger and better, whatever, you know? But no, you know, it's just kind of weird, you know? It's disappointing is the best way I can say it. I know the game will still be fun, but I feel like at the end of the day, I'm still going to be a Gen 7 guy, you know? Like, I just feel like Gen 7 had just magic behind it. But Gen 8's probably going to just feel like it has half that magic, you know? Like, it'll be fun to go out into the wild areas and catch and train, but I don't know, man. I don't know.
I know this was a little while ago, but did you still want to mention Z-moves and Mega Evolutions?
I mean, they're gone. There's really... What's so weird to me is that Mega Evolutions... It's like they wanted to do them, like they really wanted to, but they stopped for some reason, and I don't get why. Like, because when Gen 7 rolled around, they had Mega Evolution introductions for the Kanto Trio and tons of Pokemon for Generation 6. You got Mewtwo, you got Altaria, you got Tyranitar.
Did you mean 6 or something?
Yeah, did I say 6?
You said 7, I think.
Oh, sorry.
I think.
6. No, well, 6. And then Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, you got the freaking Hoenn Trio getting Mega Evolutions, you got Groudon and Kyogre and Rayquaza getting some Megas, or Mega Forms. You got Slowbro, who got one, and then, like, in Gen 7, they didn't do it at all, and it's like, that's weird. Like, some Pokemon didn't get them that needed them. Like, no Mega for... Like, a Mega for Garchomp, who literally doesn't need it, because Garchomp's, like, really strong, number 1, and number 2, his design is great. Like, but they didn't give one to Flygon? They didn't give one to... Again, like, see, that's what I mean. Like, it's like, why? Like, I just don't get it. And, like, give one to Slowbro, but not Slowking? Why? Slowbro was fine. You didn't need to buff Slowbro. You didn't need to buff Slowking. But, like, if you're going to give one to Slowbro, you should probably give one to Slowking, right? Like, why not? It's just weird.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, they just didn't give one to Slowking. You only give one to Slowbro.
What?
Slowking does not have a Mega Evolution. You didn't know that?
It's like Digimon? What?
Yeah, no. You can't... If you there's only...
So you have... So Slowbro evolves into what again? Slowking?
No, Slowpoke evolves into either Slowbro or Slowking.
Oh, it turns into both.
Yeah, it turns into either.
It is like Digimon, okay.
Yeah. So you either...
I totally forgot about Slowbro.
No. That's... Oh, man, that's my favorite Pokemon. And if he's not in Generation 8...
I thought Slowbro was Slowpoke for a second.
No.
I see what you mean. That's weird.
Yeah, no. Slowpoke's my favorite Pokemon.
Okay, they gave it to one, but not the other.
Yes, which is
that's
weird.
weird.
And then Generation 7, like, all new Z moves. And I'm like, okay, Z moves are cool. I like Z moves. I know people are going to, like, I'm on the minority of this, but I kind of like Z moves a little bit more than Mega Evolution. Because I like the idea of, like, any Pokemon being able to hit you.
People not like Z moves?
Dude, no,
I thought it was more interesting. Not more interesting, but like you said, any Pokemon can have a Z move.
Yeah, and you just don't know. Like, you know what I mean? And so... I don't know. Like,
I like more balanced to me than Megas.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Because I'm like... Because you can steal a Z Crystal. You can't steal a Mega Stone off of someone if you use Thief, which I don't know why. That's so broken. But the point I'm trying to make is that, like they introduce these mechanics and they never come back. And I know that's going to be the same thing with Dynamax. Like,
it's a really weird thing that Pokemon does too.
I know.
Because they add a bunch of stuff, but then I think that's why people are more tired of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Because with all the stuff they add, they always take away things.
Yes.
So it's like Pokemon's always in a state of, like, being the same, kind of.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, there's new stuff, but all that stuff you like, we're taking away next time.
Yes. And I just don't understand that. Like, so I know, like, if Dynamax comes back, I just don't see it. Like, they're going to have to do something completely new to get you to sell on. Like, so... I don't know. I can only say that, like, I'm still anticipating the game, but it's for different reasons now. It's not because of, like, oh, I can't wait to grab all my favorite Pokemon and go on a journey. It's more like, I just really want to see what other Pokemon they're going to add at this point. You know, I want to see how the game feels and plays, but I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna approach this game with with something I've never done, with a severe lack of optimism, which is interesting because I've never done that with a Pokemon game.
Yeah, I was about to say you're always hyped for new Pokemon games.
I am, and this is kind of a punch in the gut where it's like, man, I just feel really bad for anybody whose favorite doesn't get in. Like, I doubt they're gonna exclude any of the starter Pokemon. I feel like that would be a criminal act. But
yeah, we'll see.
Like, but I mean that though. Like, that's a criminal act. Like, if you take out Chikorita, I know people hate Chikorita, but I love Chikorita.
Yeah, I love Chikorita.
You take out Chikorita, I'm coming at your door, Game Freak. Like, you hear me, Masuda? No, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, I'm approaching Generation 8 with a significant lack of optimism now. I don't feel cynical, but I do feel like kind of a realist, where it's like, this game is just gonna be kind of whatever, you know? Like, it's just... And I know.
For everybody listening, that's a big deal.
Yes.
This is from Blake.
Yes.
The Pokemon trainer.
Just for reference, even though that game had no players or whatever for a while, I think, I invested a total of 600 hours into Pokemon Sun and Moon alone.
Damn.
That's just how much I love that game. Pokemon is my favorite franchise ever, so for me to say that hurts. You know, so there you go. We'll see. We'll see with all of the things we've talked about, but I think Pokemon's gonna be kind of a hard pill to swallow. You know, so
yeah. I mean, we'll see what they do with it.
Yeah.
How they respond to this backlash.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I hope they do something. I hope they can at least say, we'll update it. But Pokemon has never done an update ever in their life. I don't even think they know how.
Actually, I didn't think about that. Yeah, you're right.
The closest they've ever done is mythical Pokemon. You type in a code, you get your mythical. Okay, cool. But I highly doubt you're gonna have to go to GameStop. Yeah, can I get the entirety of Generation 1's Pokedex, please? Yeah, no. And especially for free? Oh no.
Oh no.
They ain't gonna do that.
No.
If Pokemon has DLC, I'm quitting. I'm straight up quitting. I mean that. If Pokemon
God.
ever, because because that is an active, a legit. I kid you not. That is what is it? That is like a sin. All right, that is the most hypocritical sin I've ever seen a game company make. Because ever since Generation 1, if you wanted a mythical Pokemon, you go to your Toys R Us, you go to your GameStop, and you get that. They plug it in, you get Mew, you get Celebi, you get who was the mythical and Deoxys, Jirachi. You get the event Pokemon. The whole foundation is free trading. If they ever charge me for a single Mon, no. They gave away shiny Pokemon for free. They gave a shiny Tapu Koko for free. I'm not paying for Pokemon. I refuse. And I mean DLC Pokemon.
Yeah.
Also, this game is going to be $60, I assume?
Mm-hmm.
Assuming the fact that it has to be because it's
100% going to be $60.
That is $20 more than Sun and Moon. Full price. Because 3DS games only go up to $40.
You're right. I didn't think about that.
So, see what I mean? It's this game has hurt me to kind of an extent where it's I just feel more yikes. So, I think I'm just going to leave it at there before I depress anybody else.
I'm about to check if Pokemon is 60.
I'm
pretty sure it is.
It's a Switch game. They can charge $60 for it. If it's $40, I'm still very hesitant, considering the fact that it's a Switch title and they didn't give the We'll see.
1 sec, it's loading. It is $60.
Yep. All right. Well, then if they charge me for Pokemon, or if they charge me for anything if they don't give me free updates of Pokedexes and whatever, nope.
All right.
I'm not.
That's a tough pill to swallow.
It will be.
Sorry about that, Blake. Well, I think we definitely talked a lot about that.
Yes.
And there might even be more to talk about because this story is still progressing with people's reactions and everything. Mm-hmm. So any of these conversations we can come back to in the future.
Yes.
We don't know. But I think this has been a very good return to the podcast, if you would agree.
I 100% agree. I enjoyed all these topics, and I know we have a lot more to say about them as going forward because new updates are going to come from them. I think there will probably be another Pokemon Direct before release, or there might be just updates like they did with Gen 7. Mm-hmm. They're going to show off the middle evolutions for the starters,
right, and
then the ending evolutions, and then maybe a few more Pokemon here and there.
Yeah.
And they'll probably just not say anything about free updates or anything like that.
Probably.
They'll probably just...
Yeah. Well...
What's Kanto? I've never heard of Kanto.
Yeah, well, that seems about it for this podcast this time. We guys hope you enjoyed it. We're still having some growing pains with the new podcast. It's different doing the podcast format again, you know? Mm-hmm. But I think in a few episodes, I think we'll be on the top of our game. Honestly, I think we're even better at talking about these kind of conversations than we were back then.
Yes.
So I think we will be improving, and hopefully you guys will see that improvement with us. And we'll see you next time. We're still unnamed for this podcast, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Yes, we will.
And yeah, so that's it from me. If you have any final words, Blake, you can close us out.
Don't charge me for Pokemon. That's all I have to say. I don't want to pay DLC.